Well, hello, all my amazing friends. My name is SherriAnneDuffy-King, and I'm the writer of the title of a Crucified Innocent series. And right now we are reading chapter 41 of the Prince in the Mirror book 2. All right? Now, the title for this is Changing Tides of Fate. Now, let's get going on it, shall we? Later on at camp the next morning, Evie sat with Lucinda trying to come up with ways to relay her messages. Lucy, it's hopeless. We've gone through every scenario, trying to relay our messages. How are we to do it and save time? I've racked my brains in depletion and in thought. Lucinda smiled, pulling her legs up underneath her as she sat next to Evie and the candles on the table. The shadows of light flickered off of Lucy's luminous eyes. Evie could see tiny pictures moving across Lucy's retinas, but very few dares to gander closely at as Lucinda hiked up as she hiked up her smile, moving closer to Evie's ears, and whispered, "I know a way that my mother and ancestors have taught me. It comes from the great Aneo himself, but you have to promise not to tell anyone how to do it. It is very dangerous." Evie smiled, hugging Lucy and continuing to listen. "I promise." Lucy, on later on the outside of the tent, she gathered everyone in a circle around her. "In order for me to do this, I need all of your energy because this could be fatal." Everyone nodded and circled around her. They all held hands and Evie began. With a smidge of dust and wind, Evie electrified her inner palms and raised them toward the heavens. Then she pushed the base of her palms together tightly, then opened. Teneho von Vonake, Evie whispered into the air, her fingers pulling apart, and a small black crow fights her skin to freedom. Like that. It's coming from here. The skin gives way to a black beak, and the bird wiggles free, then soars upward toward the sky. Up further than the treetops the birds fly, on a mission, then explodes like fireworks. The burning embers form into dozens upon dozens of glittering balls of light. They circle then with another crackle of explosion they fly in the directions they were meant to go. William lets go of Lucinda and Raylos' hands and steps toward Evie. "Evie, what just happened?" Evie turns to William and smiles. Lucinda nods to Evie for approval. "William, together we all just cast a Devo enchantment." She enunciated the word and smiled. "Oh, okay." Chapter 42. Treason Against Love. Wait a minute. Yeah, we are on 42. Wow, that was fast. It was only one chapter. With a quick movement, Akmalutra shifted his body toward the window and caught a glint of strange tidings. To the west, a funny black shape pulled fast from the trees, soaring upward, then unexpectedly exploded into circling, glittering orbs. Akmalutra pulled back in shock. What was going on at Corner's Peak? One of the orbs soared fast, headed toward the red castle, toward the tower window. It flew with eminent speed, passing through the window, ruffling the red velvet curtains. It crossed over the bed toward a wall and crashed. With an intense explosion and light altering Akmalutra's view, silence followed. Akmalutra turned to the now quiet wall, and resting in it, an arrow protruded, black and purple feathers exposed and pressed between the alarming arrow and stone wall. A piece of parchment lay tame. Akmalutra crossed over to it, his movement pulling the wind and lifting the paper. Akmalutra pressed his hand onto the corner to hold the paper down so he could read, and as he read it, his blood began to boil. "Oh, Evie, when I get done ripping your army apart, you will beg I keep you alive, and the things I'll do to you when I finally have you." Oh, he's mad. Oh, he is so mad. Chapter 43, Galleon Orbs of Secrets. Caleb, king of Cornopolis, sat on his throne, going through petty executions. A large vibration of water around them left him in wonder. He looked up and spotted the source. He lifted up his hand and caught the exploding ball. After the suit had disintegrated, he unfolded the blue parchment and read it aloud. He soon stood up and started growling commands to all around him. Gather my army, guillotine sirens. When the room was empty, all except King Caleb, he raised his spiked weapon and swished it through the water, lending ripples to an electrical charge. A small mirror opened, and he sent out a large dictative command to all he commanded. The water dwellers answered and readied their armies, and the Norianas nodded and crowded around the banks of Nori, ready to leap onto the backs of the guillotine sirens, armed and ready. Oh, shit's just gonna be hitting the fan, isn't it? Chapter 44. Ready to Arc of Battle. Guinevere received the message and rushed to her husband's side. Sweet husband, Ariana has sent for us. We are to meet Nemesis at Nemesis Skull. Corner's Peak, my queen. Guinevere smiled. Of course, my love. King Prince Ark smiled at an earthy grin, then began shouting orders. Guinevere, take the zombies and transport them there. It's less conspicuous and ready my arachnids for battle, all of them. Guinevere ran to the standing zombies outside of Cardagon Castle and brushed her palms against the air. A white light of sparkling mist and stars of the abyss erupted to suck all of the zombies in her hands. Then she pushed her palms out with extent force, and the white light evaporated them, sending them to Princess Ariana. My queen, ready Imed and Wingo, along with the others of the Amphiomnarchs. Soldiers ran from room to room to gather what belongings that they would like to take into battle. Out of the grass, thousands of Amgon widows gathered, waiting Omnarchs and their royal duties. King Prince Ark helped hoist his love onto Wingo, then turned to his prized best friend, Imed, climbing onto his back. A large horn exploded across the lawns as everyone gathered onto their riding widows. On Imed charged to Corner's Peak, to Ariana. Everyone smiled with shards of magnificent teeth, grinding against their battle cries. Imed flung his webs high into the trees and pulled into a steady fight, wind buckling against his enormous weight and dexterity. Chapter 45, Pleasant Messages. Above each of the villages an orb exploded, signaling the time for war and giving out directions to Corner's Peak, each trembling to the enormous scroll high above the buildings, reaching high and far, all suited up for the final turn of events. That's a short chapter, huh? Chapter 46, Gleelin responds. Deep below Noriana, in the underground caves, each dwarf receives the message and teleports armed and ready toward Corner's Peak. Chapter 47, Revolt at Corner's Peak. Evie watched in horror as a huge red ball of flames flew above the Truscan forest, then closed over East Amphia Wood toward Corner's Peak. Shrill chills crossed over Evie's body as heat pushed off of the closing ball of chaos. Evie turned to everyone and started to run. A disembodied voice growled the command, "Run!" Aiden grabbed onto Evie's arm as she dodged bits of flame from the ball that dripped like acetic ash, crumbling to the ground, eating away all the good and vibrant pieces of Amphia Wood. Take refuge in Rovgon River. All life scattered toward the river, leaving the tents and anything unsalvageable utterly vulnerable. The horses scattered to the clearing, running fast than the still heated wind that was closing in on everyone. Evie felt the strike of the ball hit the gravel of the base of Nemesis' skull, and the pressure of it sent reverberated, knocking her off of her feet. Hours later, Evie woke. Her face was dingy, her clothes were ripped. Evie pushed herself up off the ground. Bits of soot and ash stuck to her clothes and hair. Heat still burned the air. Trees were half burnt down, and Nemesis' skull was ripped, tilted horizontally. His whole left side was cracked and lying in the river toward the black castle. Water pushed violently out like a shattered valve on a fire hydrant in any community. A lingering smoke stench with death added to the screams of chaos. Evie looked around, stunned and dazed, feeling like she was sleepwalking, watching everything unfurl. Oh, Anea, what have I done? Oh, Lord, give us the strength to pull through. Oh, please, Father. Evie whispered to the heavens. Evie started to walk toward Nemesi's skull. Flickering ash still fell from the clear blue sky. The heavens remained silent in her folly cries. To her folly cries. A lot of the soldiers were scattered around Corner's Peak, weeping with pain, or dead in pieces. Blood splayed the ground around each soldier. One reached out to her, one she had never seen before. Blood gushed from his head, nose, and mouth. He had a continual pneumonia cough that pushed more bloody fluids from his gullet.
2, 1, blast off.
Sorry about that. Let's continue. His long, dirty dishwater hair was stained. His eyes rolled back in his head as he fought the overbearing pain. His legs and left arm were gone. Sticky brown puddles surrounded him. Evie knelt beside him, grabbing his one and only arm. Cuts bridged from his fingertips down his once muscular arm to shoulder where his arm was half hanging off. Evie didn't think it was right to question what was wrong with what was possible. She wrapped his right hand in her right hand, fingers gently locking together. Evie slid his head up and cradled his body in her lap, his head resting in the base of her elbow. At her touch, his eyes rolled back to look at her. His wispy, stained lips and teeth pulled up for a gently yet painful smile. His eyes were almost almond color with magnificent highlights of yellow and specks of orange, black, and moss green. He coughed and growled at the same time. Evie held steady, wondering what she could do for this brave soldier. They locked eyes and his smile broadened. Ah, Princess Ariana. It's you. I found you. Evie listened to everything the soldier was saying. I tried to warn you in time. The ball was too fast and passed me on my way to you. The Sivka was not only to weaken your defenses, but to mark a path for Akmolutra's soldiers and the army of destitute delusions. In a few hours they will be here, armed and ready to battle with you, unless you give yourself to him, body and soul. Evie thought about that for a second, and a tear silently slid down her cheek. The soldier's right hand flew up with hers and caught the tear on the edge of his thumbnail. Princess, you mustn't give yourself up. Stay strong and fight for us. My family and all of Mbala needs you to be strong and faithful. All will be well, and all who died thus far will not have died in vain. Evie and the soldier locked eyes, and then she followed his stare to the teardrop on his fingertips. The bead of liquid and salt absorbed, and the soldier started to smile as he was being disintegrated. Do not fear, your tears are sedating the pain. We will meet again. Evie held tight. What was your name, so I might find your family and put their heartache to rest? The man's brilliant eyes closed and smiled at the same time. My name, Princess Ariana, is Jude. Jude disappeared, and Evie only held onto thin air, stunned at the previous events. I coughed because he coughed. I'm just saying. I'm good, huh? Yeah. Aiden walked over to Evie. Do you want to take your drink, Dean? Here. He was a little sore from the Sivgon Gno bomb. He knelt down and placed his arms beneath hers and held her with warmth and love. Evie leaned back into his chest and cried. Her blood and tears had powers. The tears should have healed the man, not killed him. Aiden cleared his throat. Dear Evie, why are you over here by yourself crying? Evie sniffled. Aiden, I stumbled upon a soldier. He was badly wounded. He was missing both legs and his left arm. His right was hanging on by not much. He was badly injured. I pulled him into my lap and held his hand. He gave me the news, but he was dying. My tear killed and disintegrated him. Aiden scanned the ground around Evie, looking for any clue for the sad soldier. Evie, my dearest love, I don't mind to press for details, but there is no sign of this unfortunate soldier. What was his name? Evie sniffed again and wiped her eyes with the back of her hands and pulled her auburn locks from her face. Aiden, his name was Jude. Aiden stiffened. Evie felt the tension from his body. What's wrong, Aiden? Aiden held her firmer. His arms and body against hers were warm and comforting. Evie, there is no Jude in either army. But that's not why I'm tense. Jude was a fallen angel from Aneo himself. I've personally met him, though. Evie breathed deeply, not at all feeling crazy for seeing this person. Evie, I met him in the mirror realm. Evie felt dizzy. Then what was he doing here? Evie, there's something I've been meaning to tell you. We spent decades together while I was waiting for you. Close the door. Jude, Evie, there is something I've been meaning to tell you. We spent decades together. While I was waiting for you, Jude told me what happened to him at his home. Before time itself was created, see, he had a sibling go missing. He wouldn't say if his sibling was a brother or sister. To angels, they are all the same. But he loved this one very deeply, to the point that he would walk the earth in eternal damnation for them. But his sibling caught wind of an eternal disaster for the 4 planets of civilization. That would be Elder and Bala, the Mirror Realm, Athormia, and the planet that you seek refuge on quite a bit on occasion, Earth. Now, he told me he was very close to finding the one he loved so much, that his father, creator of everything, Aneo, had shielded him from finding his sibling. Evie felt tense for a moment. Aiden, did Jude ever tell you what his sibling's name was? Aiden comforted her with a deep hug. Evie, he said that his sibling's name was Leo. Evie tensed, the back of her neck starting to burn to the name. Aiden's fingers loosened in alarm. She huddled forward. Cries of pain crashed out of her lips. Ow! Aiden, make it stop! Ow! Aiden! He took her hair and moved it off of her neck and watched in horror as a marking showed up on the base of her neck, burning a deep red, orange, and yellow. Her flesh seemed to sizzle as if she were being branded from the inside out. Aiden, please make it stop. Her screams were attracting more of the survivors. Iolaus pushed through each of them with a handful of water in his palms. He rushed to her and dropped the water on the burning insignia. The mark sizzled and steamed. Then the pain stopped. After the water meshed with the heat on the back of Evie's neck, Iolaus watched the burn materialize into a tattoo. The colors etching around the black outline were so vibrant, Iolaus was mesmerized. The night before, he had spent hours reading the books of prophecies, the original hand script. The tattoo on the back of her neck was exactly the same as the cover of the ancient book. It was a castle with stars scattered around it, but the lettering formed in the black castle the name Aiden had told Evie that sent her into a frenzy. As plain as day in Vivaldi, it read Leo in shimmering colors, depending on the light reflecting that it chose. Iolaus was intrigued. Aiden and Evie stood up. Evie tossed her auburn tresses back over her neck, then brushes the sweat off of her brow. Evie, are you well enough to continue the fight? Aiden had asked. Iolaus took Evie by the hand. Sweet love, never mind fighting. Are you okay? Can you tell us why your neck was on fire? Evie, exhausted, smiled at both of them. Aiden, Iolaus, I'm fine, really. Let's gather the survivors and follow Rovgon River down to the clearing. Then suit up for war. Evie, really? Your neck? I find that odd. Please, how is it possible a word can define you in such a manner? Iolaus, Aiden, I don't know. I wish I had the answers, but I don't. No, miss, I know for a fact that following Rovgon River is a bad idea, Raylos said. Why, Raylos? The bulky werewolf stepped closer to Evie. Akamucha will know your next move and attack before you get a chance to second guess. Evie smiled. Raylos did have a point. It was common that blocking your enemy would give the attacker special causes to swipe in and reclaim victory. Okay, Raylos, what do you suggest we do? Raylos pulled both palms to his bare sides, as if he were once Peter Pan, like this. Just kidding. Anyway, then explaining triumphantly, Lady, we wait, regroup, and bring down a holy paddle of fury upon an unsuspecting Akmalutra. Both Iolus and Aiden glanced over Evie's head, sharing a victorious smile. They had their objectives. Now they lay in wait. Okay, Raylos, you, Aiden, and Iolus will conjure up a battle strategy. I will initiate a calling and wait for your return. A Neo speed. All three left to organize what they had. Evie stalked over to Rovgon River, dipped her fingers into the liquid, and then pushed her face beneath the surface. Evie pulled her face out of the water and watched, amazed at the bird bath of black and white marble pushed from the water barrier. A soft almond color filled the water at the base. Evie dipped her fingers into the water as it slowly changed from dark chocolate to speckled and clear. Like the fountain of youth, Evie dipped her face into the bath and was ready to send her message. The sides of the marble contorted and climbed the bowl. The calm circle around her face grew claws and wrapped around her face. Holding her hostage, Evie wiggled and fought for freedom. A giggle and waves from Rovgon River moved. Evie focused her attention on the giggle. You thought you could escape? By now you should know better. Evie started to gain uncontrollable shivers up and down her body. She fought one of her most primal instincts. Who are you? What do you want? The figure pulled like smoke from the water and floated around Evie. No one to save you now, princess. It's time for your season to end. They have extended it enough for a millennium. Lydia, it's you, isn't it? The merchant of death's only daughter of dirty deeds, still living at home? Or shall I say in hell with Poppy? Lydia floated behind Evie, extending her smoky claw, and took a huge swipe at Evie's back. Evie lifted her rear legs and kicked Lydia, knocking her back into a tree. The tree was all but friendly, flecking Lydia like an annoying bug. Lydia flew toward Rovgon River, and with a dazed splash, Evie pulled her palms in the direction Lydia had fallen, shooting out a couple of huge concentrated blasts, knocking Lydia toward 3 Sundays from where she was. The bird bath released Evie and pulled back with a roar, sending out a signal, then reeling back to the murky depths of Rovgon River. Evie stumbled back. Strong hands held her firm from falling down. Evie followed the length of the arm, up the biceps and shoulders, then to the handsome face of the soldier she hadn't believed had grown so fast. Evie, are you all right? William helped Evie straighten up again, stand upright again. Oh yeah, I'm fine. Just hit some turbulence when sending out a message. William looked confused. Evie, what does turbulence mean? Evie smiled, remembering that the language was slightly different on Umballa. William, it means trouble. William smiled, then pulled out a piece of cloth his mother, Mary Elizabeth Shaw, had sent with him for good luck. Evie stood as William helped dry her face. Thank you, William. William straightens up. Evie, it's almost time. We need to get everyone and be ready. Evie follows William back to camp, where the others met her. We are ready. Let's mount our steeds and fight back for once in our existence. Evie mounts Ithaca, blade of Umballa brandished as she screams a war cry so agnostic that even the heavens shiver with unrequited fear of the events to come. The ground around Evie and the surrounding planets shake, igniting the beginning to the end.